Gutierrez, Louis Jacques, and Barnwell. Welcome to the re-renaissance. Where you been? We've given you food and art and beauty and sports television hosts, and now we give you quarterbacks and agents. Giant by birth, Italian by the grace of God. Also, the Dolphins, are they who you thought they were? Question mark? Let's go around the horn.
Thank you, Italy. Is that what you want?
Yes, I want you're welcome. You're welcome. We'll get to that in a second. Did the Titans win it or Dolphins blow it? It was a 14-point game with under 3 minutes left at home. Teams with a 14-point lead with 3 minutes left had won 767 straight games. Today, they are 767-1. I don't need to say any more. Marcel Louis-Jacques, you were there. How bad a loss for the Miami Dolphins?
Whew. I mean, where do we begin, Tony? Yeah, it was a bad loss, and it's not just because it's to the 4-8, now 5-8 Titans. This is the NFL. We see upsets like this every week. It's bad because you're up 14 with 2.5 minutes left at home. If you have Super Bowl aspirations, this is not a game that you should lose. And look, injuries add context, right? Tyreek Hill played 45% of the snaps last night. They were down 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. They were down both of their safeties and middle linebacker. Might explain why DeAndre Hopkins was so open on that 26-second go-ahead drive. They still had 5 red zone trips, Tony, and they scored 2 touchdowns. Right. That is inexcusable. For the #1 red zone offense in the NFL, you cannot do that. You won't win games. Now, the sky's not falling. They still have a shot at the 1 seed in the AFC. They still have a shot at a clinch scenario in the AFC East by week 16. But, man, this was a game that you had to win.
Bill Barnwell, to you.
This was a disqualifying defeat for me for the Miami Dolphins. I can't take them seriously after this loss. Wow. They were handed 21 points on a silver platter. They get a pick 6 on a screen pass, 2 fumbles inside the red zone for the Miami Dolphins from Tennessee handing them the football. When that's happened before, 2 short drives inside the red zone and a defensive touchdown, teams were 16-0. They had won by an average of 17 points per game. The Dolphins lost. And Marcel mentioned the injuries, and they're meaningful and real. But Tennessee was without Jeffrey Simmons, their best player. And the Dolphins still didn't trust they could run the ball in short yardage in the red zone. Just a brutal performance from the Miami Dolphins when they could have taken control of the AFC.
Give me the headline again. A disqualifying loss, you say, about this team. A team that, well, the boogaboo was they couldn't beat winning teams. This was a losing team that they couldn't beat at home. Israel Gutierrez, I go to you now in Miami.
Classic around the horn question, and a rare answer where the team, meaning the Tennessee Titans, both gave the game away and won it. Because about the only good thing the Dolphins did on this day was jump on loose balls, jump on fumbles. Because if they didn't recover those 2 fumbles, or if the Titans didn't fumble those balls, this would have been a Titans blowout. And so, yes, you talk about other teams not having injuries, but yeah, the Titans maybe could prepare for this. When you have your most important player, and arguably the most valuable player in the league, leave the game, during the game, and you don't know when you're going to get him back, then your whole strategy changes. And then when people act sort of uncharacteristic like whether it be Mike McDaniel kicking that field goal and fourth and goal at the 2, when normally all season long he's been going for that, even though he's only to tie the game. You've got Bradley Chubb, who had Will Levis under wraps and then let him go and then compounded the problem by slamming his helmet and getting a 15-yard penalty. Uncharacteristic. But you also just have to give the other team credit. Will Levis, with his giant veins, escaped that tackle and made a bunch of plays. And he had a lot more time behind that offensive line than Tua did, because Tua had 4 offensive linemen out of the game by the end of it. So, yeah, it's one of those games for the Dolphins, but not a disqualifying game. This is what they look like when all of those things happen to them. This is not what they look like when they're closer to full strength.
Will Levis and his giant veins? That's what you're going with? Okay.
Have you seen them?
Is that another word for onions? Or okay. Bill Plaschke, to you.
Tony, I'm getting pounded here. Can I defer my points to buy and sell? Can I defer all my points to buy or sell?
We're going to get to Otani in a second.
You didn't get the joke.
I get the joke. All right.
I'm surprised we went all around the horn, and nobody yet has criticized Mike McDaniel. I thought he had a terrible game. He was out-coached by Vrabel, especially in the red zone. And in the last 2 times they had the ball, they're holding on to a 6-point lead, and they run the ball twice, and 2 scrambles and gets tackled. Then the last time, in the last drive, a potential game-winning drive, there was no sense of urgency. There was no sense of intensity. And they threw 5 short passes, and then Tua got sacked. McDaniel needs to be better later in games. They need to have some more pointed practices. It's not working. He's not working late in games, and I question how far they can go with him as their head coach right now.
There may be a question of any team in the AFC you believe at this moment, but the reality is this Dolphins team without Tyreek Hill for half the game yesterday, and they look like a different team. Tyreek Hill did talk about that ankle sprain, the pain he was in, and a text he received from his wife that motivated him to get back into the game. I want you to listen to this.
Text my wife, I was like, bro, like, it hurt. Like, she was like, you better get your back in that game, dog.
Marcel, whether going back in was the right decision for Tyreek Hill and whether this lingers, what are you hearing today?
Well, if we know anything about Tyreek Hill, he's going to play through injuries, and he's got this Wolverine-like healing quality where I would be pretty surprised if he missed next week's game against the New York Jets. I said it during the game, though, that considering they didn't rule him out, he was probably behind glass, break if an emergency situation. They found an emergency struggling against the Titans, so he had to play. Look, this is your team captain. This is probably the best player in the league this season. If he can run, if he says he can cut and he can go, you trust him to go play, and that he's not going to put himself in a worse scenario. As far as any AFC teams go, though, it has to be Baltimore, I guess, because even through their struggles against the Rams, they still found a way to win. But the parity in this conference is probably at an all-time high right now. There is no bona fide favorite.
And is Drew Gutierrez on Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek has been playing through a bunch of minor injuries this year, and he said he's going to have a career year. He announced his 2000, and when he ran off the field with that quick sprint after popping up, that's when you knew, hey, this was not that serious. He's going to overcome whatever it is, and he's still on pace for his 2,000 yards, so there's no doubt in my mind he's playing next week.
Oh, there's our horn. Any other news from last night? Any other game that had a certain cultural excellence? No, not the Heat. Let's talk about the Giants 24, Packers 22. A very normal game fueled by cultural excellence. The passing paisan Tommy DeVito and all the DeVitos, because when you're sitting in that box, your family, carrying a team like we've never seen before in history. Well, maybe we have seen 3 wins in a row before, but for a Jersey guy at the stadium he won a state championship in at Don Bosco Prep, to have this last-minute drive to win the game, maybe stretch the season out a little bit more, it's a perfectly breaded cutlet, Bardwell. What do the Giants have here with Tommy DeVito?
They got a local hero. You saw before the game, they were handing out chicken cutlet heroes. They were handing out veal parm heroes. The only hero on the field was Tommy DeVito.
Oh,
I give a lot of credit,
Bill.
not just to Tommy DeVito, but also realistically to Brian Dable and that coaching staff. This team was 2-8. They were down to their 3rd-string quarterback who nobody had ever heard of. It would have been so easy to tank, to give in, to try and get one of those top 2 picks, to give up on the season. And instead, Brian Dable and company have coached this team to 3 straight victories. They're playing tough. And even if DeVito's not the guy in the long term, a lot of their young players looked very promising yesterday. Guys like Deonte Banks played really well. There's a lot to like about the future, whether it involves the passing paisan or not in 2024 and beyond.
It's like romance when I hear it like that. It's like a beautiful opera. Bill Plaschke, how about you?
DeVito was great, but I focus more on Jordan Love, and he wasn't so great. I think the Packers have to maybe worry about him. He's not as advanced as they thought he was. On downs, 2nd through 4th downs, he was 12 for 25. He was terrible most of the game. The Packers have lost 4 games in which they've led this year. That's tied for the league lead. And Jordan Love, in a game that they had to have, that they really needed him, he didn't show up.
He did have the last possession drive that gave the Packers the lead, didn't he?
But they shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. He missed so many balls. He was late on balls. He was very disappointing.
Is Drew Gutierrez?
I'm not going to lie, Tony, watching 2 Monday Night Football games at the same time, kind of difficult. Unfortunately, Coming to America predicted this finish like 30-some years ago, so we already knew what happened when the Giants won this game. So what they have here is a quarterback who, if you saw in the first half, took care of the game, and then you saw in the second half, he went out and won the game. And that's sort of what you have to do when you're down to your backup quarterback, when your best weapon's a running back who's not going to blow open the game. And he did exactly that. And the most amazing thing that he's doing is, as Bill mentioned, turning the storyline, if you will, I can't use that other word, of this team around like that, like so severe. We were talking about the Daniel Jones contract and talking about the coach, and maybe he should be on the hot seat after getting Coach of the Year. Now you realize you're bringing all this fun into it. You're bringing, potential playoff situations into it. It's an entire turnaround for this team, and it's because of one guy.
Yeah, you see? There you go. Marcel Louis-Jacques. What do the Giants have here in Tommy DeVito?
They've got a cultural hero, a local icon, somebody who is going to sell tickets from the New Jersey crowd. What I've appreciated about Tommy DeVito is a couple things. One, he's taking care of the ball. He's not putting it in harm's way. 8-3 touchdown to interception ratio in 6 games. Was a little worried about the hits he was taking. 28 sacks in 6 games, but 0 last night. He was quick. He was decisive with the ball. His placement was on point. He was quick to run. I think they might have something.
The word agent was trending for hours last night. Let's go here. His name is Sean Stellato, and we're not here for any of this slimy talk. That's regressive, not even funny. I heard someone say, this is an act. This is the induction to the National Italian American Hall of Fame here. This guy's legit. And who's going to get on a guy for looking good? We call it la bella figura, right? This was just amazing to see. As for this graphic my very own network put out, I feel bad, but those cutlets look like garbage. Oh. Those aren't even cutlets. What's next? Egg noodles and ketchup when I order spaghetti and marinara? Come on, ESPN. Get up to our level. And here's the thing, all right? We contain multitudes as Italian Americans, right? At them. Should the Dodgers be able to do this? No. Is this fair for the rest of baseball? And could Ohtani be the greatest at contracts as well?
I'm just so impressed. As any player who ever said they want to win, put their money where their mouth is, like Ohtani just did. I mean, he's deferring his money until he's 50 years old. I'm so impressed that he could do this, and because he makes so much money off the field, he can do this. It's legal, it's fair, it's smart, and now the Dodgers have enough money, $25 million extra now, to go get a couple starting pitchers.
Israel Gutierrez, should this be fair?
I just want to see the face on the front office guys of the Dodgers when Ohtani's camp brought this up. Like, what? Are you serious? Because this is just the greatest advantage a team could possibly have. Not only could he potentially play in the field and at the plate, but he could also just cost you $2 million and you could just supplement so much more. It's unfair. You look at the rest of the league and say, hey, we're all going to have to be the Tampa Bay Rays to try to win this thing and try to overcome the Dodgers. But it does set this sort of, the great villain right here in the Dodgers, and you've got a likable guy at the center of it, so it's tough. But yeah, I think it's perfectly taking advantage of the rules, and the rest of the league just has to shrug and say, what can we do?
Marcel Louis-Jacques?
Yes, the great Saint Shohei Ohtani deferring his $68 million a year payment until he can kick back out of the state of California and not have to pay crazy taxes on it. Yeah, it's team friendly, but don't get it twisted. Like, this still very much benefits Shohei Ohtani. Shout out to the Dodgers for essentially discovering a firm for MLB free agency. Just forget it. We'll pay it off later. But I don't think this is going to be the norm. This is something that a marketable star who just signed a $700 million contract can do, not just like the average Joe or the average replacement level player.
Understood. Bill Barnwell, is this bad for baseball?
I think it's bad for baseball players more than baseball teams. And I know for Shohei Ohtani, it's not going to make a difference because he has $50 million a year or more in incentives, in terms of endorsement money that's going to supplement what he has that he's laying off. But if you're now a star player and you hit free agency, I know other players have deferred money, but now because of Ohtani, you're going to be asked to defer the vast majority of your money. Fans are going to be indignant if you're not taking your money, if you're not taking your money in the past, if you're taking your money up front. That, to me, is very frustrating and disappointing.
Does anybody think this is bad for baseball, though, for other teams' perspective, Plashke? No?
No, because I think most players aren't going to do this. You have to be able to. Ohtani's a unicorn in everything he does. No player makes
Yes, I mean, is it bad for teams opposing the Dodgers for the next 10 years? Is this a workaround what is already in place, which is a luxury
If
tax?
the highest payroll team in baseball wins it every year or every other year, then I'd say yeah. But we see every year where the team that spends the most does not necessarily win it all, so we have to wait and see.
We'll move on. Buy or sell two. This is a Bill Plaschke buy or sell segment. You had this one as well. The Lakers announcing their in-season tournament will have a banner at their home arena. There was some debate over this. You remember Kobe Bryant famously said we don't hang banners for anything other than championships. Well, here, the Lakers hanging the in-season tournament banner. Buy or sell, Bill?
I can't sell enough. No, don't do it. You still have time to change your mind. Don't hang the banner. Like Kobe said, they hang banners for one thing and one thing only, NBA titles. Nobody in LA cheers this. It was 7 games. You're going to hang a banner for 7 games against a lot of teams that have losing records? No, it's ridiculous. Don't do it. No, it's
This surprises me. I thought you would just celebrate a champion in your city yet again.
7 games. That's not a tournament.
Israel, buy or sell the
it's
Lakers
anomaly.
hanging a banner here?
I'm buying it. Those banners are to share the history of the team with the fans. It doesn't say anything about the type of player wearing the jerseys, but the Lakers are going to say, no, you can't see our histories in the ceiling. You have to Google it. No, just show the darn trophy and show the darn banner and just move on. Who cares?
Marcel Louis
Because we show everything.
It's history. Like, I see nothing wrong with it. Like, memorialize the fact that you won the first one of these things. I'm not saying it has to be a thing every single time a team wins one from here on out, but it's the first year. It was a rousing success. Might as well celebrate it and just enjoy the nice things in life.
So that's 2 for hanging the banner, and Plaschke's the one saying the Lakers shouldn't. They should be above this. Bill Barnwell, to you?
Let's hang the banner up. There was a Taylor Swift banner hanging up in Staples or whatever it's called now. Back in those quaint days when you could fit Taylor Swift fans in an arena as opposed to a stadium for multiple nights. If you can hang up a Taylor Swift banner, you can hang up a Lakers success with the in-season tournament banner. You can always bring it down a couple years from now when the Lakers are back competing for championships.
Tony, I wouldn't hang this banner in my garage. I wouldn't hang it in my house. 7 games. Who does a banner for 7 games?
Bill Plaschke.
LA is the city of champions, not IST banners.
Did the Miami Heat hang a banner up for Michael Jordan? Was that for their fans, Israel?
Yes, technically yes. And Dan Marino, but hey,
We'll let that be the final deduction here. Plaschke, Gutierrez, showdown. Next. Plaschke, Gutierrez, good luck in showdown. Justin Herbert out for the year. Needs surgery on his finger. The Chargers underwhelm again. What happens now, Plaschke? Do you still believe in Herbert?
There's nothing about Justin Herbert that can't be fixed with a strong, powerful, offensive-minded coach. Look down. They're going to get a new coach next year. Look down the road. Maybe, I don't know, Lincoln Riley?
Whoa, Plaschke, hot take. There we go. Israel?
Yeah. There's definitely some doubt there. Through the first 3 years of their career, he and Tua were compared all the time, and everybody said Herbert was better and had more potential and didn't get hurt as often. Now what? Seems like Tua's doing pretty well and not getting hurt. Herbert is getting hurt. I'm sure a really good offensive coordinator would love to have him, but there are questions there.
It wasn't fair when Tua got compared to Herbert every time something happened 3 years ago. It's not fair to compare Herbert to Tua now. We'll move on. Plaschke points. Showdown 2. Sabres announcer Rob Ray. He's a tough guy. You know it from his career. You know it now. He took a puck to the face, bled, and continued on with the broadcast. Israel, how much credit does a sideline reporter deserve?
No credit at all, Tony. One time I was in Boston, I caught a basketball to the back of the head. Didn't even know what had happened, but I didn't flinch. I didn't miss a syllable. Ray made it all about himself here, getting medical attention. Oh, come on, that's unfair.
He made it about himself? What? Go ahead, Plaschke.
The puck made it about him. Are you kidding me? Ray's a tough guy. As a player, he's been in 247 fights, including 2 in the preseason. This guy can fight. This guy can handle his pucks to the face. Good for him.
Israel, are you comparing a basketball that glanced off the side of your head with the vulcanized rubber of a hockey puck to the face?
Yes.
FaceTime, Plaschke.
All right, thank you very much. So Riley Leonard is transferred from Duke to Notre Dame. That news came out today. There's over 1,000 players in the transfer portal, and people are going to start complaining. Don't complain. Look at the Heisman Trophy finishers. The top 3, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. all were transfers. The transfer portal has changed young men's lives. It's changed the game forever. It's the best thing to have in college football in years. Celebrate it. Don't criticize it.
Thank you, Bill Platt. I'm still getting tweets about this renaissance we're in with Tommy DeVito and Stellato, the agent, that they're leaning in too much. We lean in like the tower in Pisa. We contain multitudes.